Juan here from Impaktech, and today we are going to be installing a set of Impaktech Race Rails on this 2020 Yamaha R6.
Hold up.
So in this video in particular, what we're going to be installing on this 2020 Yamaha R6 is going to be our Impaktech Race Rail. Now this video is also going to apply to our Impaktech crash cage, but if you aren't sure what to order, I highly suggest you look at our video on what's the difference between an Impaktech crash cage and an Impaktech Race Rail to be sure that you're purchasing the correct product. All of our crash cages are going to be made here in the US in our state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Riverside, California. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you want to know is for all Yamaha R6Rs, the fairing actually covers this motor mount bolt here. If the fairing covers your motor mount bolt, then you are going to have to cut your fairing in order for the cage to fit. There's no way around it because any frame slider, any crash cage, any race rail is always going to be mounted to your main motor mount bolt. As you can see here, our customer already has this frame slider that really doesn't protect your bike at all. But the good thing is he already made the cut on the fairing, so we don't have to do that. But yeah, quick note to self, if this fairing is covering your motor mount bolt, you have to cut it. If there's no fairing interfering with this motor mount bolt, then it's going to be a no cut. So quick little mock-up on the Impaktech crash cage so you guys can see how many incisions you actually have to do on your fairings. You're pretty much just going to have to do the main motor mount one, which is here as shown, and then the bottom portion of the cage, you are going to have to cut a hole in here in order for the crossbar to reconnect to the other side of the crash cage, and the crossbar is going to go through your headers. The crash cage is designed to work with your stock OEM headers, but will work with most aftermarket headers as long as you don't have a race header, which involves the actual tubing of the exhaust to be increased, because then you will have some interference problems. As for the race rail, which we're going to be installing on this bike, the only incision you are going to have to be making is here on the motor mount, but you are not going to have to touch any other part of the fairing. So let's go ahead and get started. The color we decided to go with today is just going to be white for this R6. We have a variety of different colors that you can choose when selecting what color you want your race rail or crash cage to get powder coated. You can find all the colors listed on our website at impaktech.com. You're going to be receiving a right side race rail, a left side race rail, our pack hardware with 4 pucks, 2 main motor mount bolts, and an all thread. Okay, so with the tools that we're going to need for this install are going to be 2 ratchets, 1 extension, 1 9/16 socket, 17mm socket. You can have a long one and a short one, and then a 10mm socket. And the last thing you're going to need for the adjustable subcage is going to be a 6mm Allen key. So your Yamaha R6 is going to come with an entire fairing just like this, and the hole that you have to cut in order to install one of our race rails or crash cage is going to be right here. Luckily for us, this customer already has a frame slider, which means he already actually cut the hole. So all we're going to do is just remove this frame slider, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the install. If you still have your fairing all in one piece, what I would recommend is completely remove your fairings first so you can test fit the actual race rail. Then from there, you can actually mark the back of the fairing with a Sharpie and start cutting the hole. So let's get started. This is going to be a 17mm socket. We're going to go ahead and break this and take this all the way out. Okay, so remove this. We no longer need any of this here. Now you can see here, this is exactly where a customer already cut the hole for a race rail. So it's actually going to be a perfect fit. So now we're going to go ahead and move over to the rear section of the motorcycle. Here is going to be the stock all thread. It is also going to be a 17mm socket, so you're going to have somebody on the other side hold it while you break this loose. Quick little tip that I usually have is I'm going to use the provided Impaktech hardware and reinsert it into the hole, just to make sure that when we remove the all thread, the motor does not sag to the floor. Once that's removed on that side, then we can remove the stock all thread. Now that he loosened the nut, we can go ahead and just slide this out, but before we do, we want to make sure that we are installing the all thread correctly. Now the all thread is going to come with 1 nylock nut and 1 open end nut. I want you to remove the open end nut and the crush washer. And on this side, I want you to have the nylock nut with the flat washer. Make sure the nylock nut is screwed in all the way to the all thread. You should see the tip of the all thread at the end. That way you know it's secure. When we remove this stock all thread, we are going to insert it like this. And on the other side, we are gonna insert the crush washer and the open end nut, just like this. So that's how it should be. Once we have the all thread out, I'm gonna remove the Impaktech provided hardware. Remember, I just had this in here so the motor does not start to sag. And we're gonna do this pretty quickly. Now, you're gonna grab the motor mount bolt, the crush washer, and this is gonna go inside the motor mount section of the Impaktech Race Rail, where you're just gonna drop it in here. It is gonna come out on this side, and with the provided spacer, we are gonna put this on the back. Now, with a buddy, you're gonna wanna make sure that you both hold this together. You don't wanna drop the race rail and hit your fairing or scratch up your powder coating. So Frankie, hold this on the rear section. But before we do, this all thread must come out. So let's take the all thread out. Pull this all thread, reinsert this here, and we can insert the motor mount here, line this up, just like that. And we can insert the all thread. Remember how I explained the all thread? Have that in here just to be secure. This is going to be a 17 millimeter, and we can just start screwing it. We're going to screw this in. Okay, and we are not going to fully tighten it yet, but we're going to have it just tight enough so it does not fall. So let go of that, Frankie. And again, you see the nylock, we're going to just press that in. Now we can move over to the other side, which is going to be the brake side, the right side of the bike. When we get to the other side of the bike, we are going to have the all thread here, and same thing, we are now going to break the motor mount bolts on this section. Again, it's going to be a 17 millimeter, so let's just go ahead and break it. So remove this, and there is going to be this OEM spacer that needs to be reinserted, okay? So make sure to have that little cone reinserted. Take this motor mount out. Okay, before installing this side of the race rail, we are just going to grab the stock OEM cone. Make sure it's facing this way and just put it in there. You're gonna grab the Impaktech provided hardware, drop it in once more, have the provided spacer on the back. You're gonna wanna have somebody hold it. So Frankie, go ahead and hold it. This rear section is gonna go on the all thread, and we're gonna line this up. And with a 17 millimeter socket, you are gonna screw this in. All right, so we're gonna just tighten this, but we're not gonna torque it down just yet. We are gonna move to the rear section of the race rail, and now you can see that's gonna be the stock all thread. The race rail is nice and secured. We're gonna move over to the rear section, back to the all thread. You're gonna grab your crush washer and your open end 9/16 nuts and insert it just like this. Crush washer in first, then nut. Once it's in there, grab your 9/16s, tighten this to 15 foot-pounds of torque. Race rail is installed. Now we can go back to the main motor mounts. These are going to be 17 millimeter socket, and we're going to want to torque these down to 30 foot-pounds of torque. So let's get these torqued down on both sides. Once you torque down the motor mount bolt to 30 foot-pounds and the rear all thread at 15 foot-pounds of torque, we can go ahead and install the Impaktech crash cage pucks. There is going to be a guide hole on all these pucks and a guide hole in the cage, so just make sure to align that. This is going to be a 10 mil screw. I like grabbing an impact. Makes the job a lot easier. Make sure this is tight all the way in before you start going. And there you have it. Make sure to do that to all four sides. Now that we installed the crash cage pucks, there should be zero slack in any of these, and it's good to go. Grab a microfiber towel. Clean this top section of the rail so we can install the Impaktech decal. Press it on here. And there we have it. Your Impaktech Race Rail on your 2020 Yamaha R6 is installed. We also recommend you get one of our Impaktech adjustable subcages. This is going to be a great addition to offer the most protection on your motorcycle. The Impaktech Race Rail crash is going to be an awesome way to protect the entirety of the bike, but if for some reason you do flip and it lands on the subframe or on the tail section, it is going to cause some damage. So with this, It actually protects the rear subframe, and it's fully adjustable, so you can adjust the pegs to go lower, upper, the crossbar, the mounting brackets. So really good addition, super easy install. You're gonna go ahead and receive it. Take off these nuts here that are gonna be 6mm Allens. We are gonna remove the stock seat. You are going to remove your stock pegs. In this case, this motorcycle doesn't have any pegs. They've already been removed. These are going to be the holes where the actual bolts go in. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I do recommend, just like the race rail, you have a buddy on the other side of the motorcycle to hold it. You don't want to scratch this up either. And it's beautifully powder coated in white to match the race rail. So Frankie, go ahead and hold that section there. We're going to line this up. Crossbar. So the subcage is bolted on now. All we had to do was just screw in those 4 screws that we showed you earlier, and it's good to go. Look how beautiful that looks. The really neat thing about the adjustable subcage is that with all of these brackets here, you can unloosen and you can adjust. This peg, you can adjust for the position to be here, 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 really anywhere you'd like. You can adjust the crossbar to go upper, lower. You can adjust these brackets here to have a different mounting position. This is going to be the best option because it caters to any sort of riding style, with all the different adjustability options. Now we're gonna go on the R6 so you guys can actually see how much clearance I have. As you can see, I can still shift perfectly fine. My shin does not hit the cage, my knee does not hit the cage. Even on the other side, I can still apply this brake perfectly fine. My shin and my knee does not hit the cage. The adjustable subcage is strong enough to hold me. Really nice grip. And yeah, let's go ahead and do a drop test so you guys actually see how much this protects your investment. Most of the time for a drop test, we'll slam the motorcycle. Unfortunately, this isn't ours, it's a customer, so we're gonna be respectful and lay it down slowly. But if you do wanna see some gnarly drops, head over to our Instagram account at Impaktech and you'll see all the gnarly drops we do. So let's go ahead and drop this, Frankie, hold it there. And you can see, no fairings touch the ground. Your bike is fully protected. Let's go ahead and get the bike lifted up so they can see there's no damage on any of the fairings. And guys, remember, to replace any of these fairings from the dealership is going to run you about $1,000 to $1,400. So get one of our Impaktech Race Rails or crash cage and protect your investment. It's worth every penny. 100% made in the USA in our state-of-the-art manufacturing facility located in Riverside, California.